Now let's take things over to the AFC West. During his Broncos playing days, John Elway made playing like a Hall of Fame quarterback look simple. But as Broncos GM, he's whiffed at the quarterback position ever since Peyton Manning left. But Elway seems to be all in on Drew Lock as Denver's quarterback of the future after he helped the team win 4 of their final 5 games as a rookie. And in year 2, Luck will have a new offensive coordinator in Pat Shurmur, whose West Coast offense promises to bring more 3 wide receiver sets, creativity, and downfield throws. And then to help with that vision, in comes first-round draft pick Jerry Jeudy from Alabama, who I thought was the best wideout in an absolutely stacked draft. They even doubled down at that position by taking KJ Hamler out of Penn State in the 2nd round, so those two with Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick, they'll be the ones running the majority of the routes. And then also in the passing game, you got a valuable guy in the versatile running back, Phillip Lindsay, whose quickness out of the backfield makes things really interesting now with the signing of Melvin Gordon, who fills the role of a more physical backfield running mate. And then now with those two guys running the ball, you look at who's up front. I do see a weakness there with the tackle position. The weakness is obviously with left tackle Garrett Bowles not living up to the first-round pick hype over on the blind side, and then over on the opposite side, starting right tackle Jawan James opted out due to COVID concerns, which creates another major problem for Locke. Now, on the other side of the ball, even though A.J. Bouye is coming off a down year, he might be a better fit in Vic Fangio's read and react zone coverage schemes than the recently departed Chris Harris Jr., who's now with the Chargers. But what you can expect is major changes with the way this team is pressuring the quarterback. Derek Wolfe's not there anymore at the end, and while Denver's hoping that a newly acquired defensive tackle in Jarrell Casey can show them that trading a 7th-round pick for a 5-time Pro Bowler is a genius move, the biggest crushing blow to this team is that Von Miller's season ends before he can even start. So that dynamic duo of him and Bradley Chubb is nothing more but a pipe dream and something that Broncos fans were looking forward to but won't get. Now, sorting out how the 3 teams finished behind the Chiefs was tough for me, but now that Von Miller's out for the year, it makes it easier for me to pick them to finish in last at 5-11. And that's not because this is not a good team, but just because, again, I think they're going to have a little bit of hard times with the tackle position and not having Von Miller. Now, the Broncos have been looking for quarterbacks for a while. The same could not be said about the Chargers for years because they had Phillip Rivers holding it down forever. 2020 is the year of change, though, and the Chargers have been hit with it in a big way. Phillip Rivers was one of the strongest connections San Diego had to the now Los Angeles Chargers, and with him now gone, it almost feels like a completely new era for the Bolts, who, by the way, are going to have some really cool, one of the coolest one-of-a-kind uniforms in the NFL for years to come. It's just too bad that they can't get their one-of-a-kind safety, Derwin James. That guy is not healthy again, and knee surgery will end his season before it can even start also. So that's tough, but offensively, you're now looking at a team, again, without Phillip Rivers. Who's their quarterback going to be? Well, Justin Herbert drafted 6th overall in the draft to be the eventual long-term option at quarterback. But he's a little raw in his development, and without a preseason, it's a no-brainer to roll with Tyrod Taylor to start. Tyrod's got some solid weapons around him with Keenan Allen being locked up on a new deal, and then tight end Hunter Henry in the middle of the field, and then the versatile plug-and-play running back Austin Eckler kind of moving around all over the field with his type of playing style. But the often injured Mike Williams is now dealing with a shoulder injury, and that type of upper body injury as a wide receiver is something that tends to linger instead of fully healing in that year, though they are quite optimistic about Mike Williams and his ability to play early on, so good for the Chargers there. The Chargers are going to be a run-first team with their zone scheme, so this offseason, it's going to be something you're looking at to shape up their season success because it's going to really fall on this offensive line doing well up front. But right now, I would say blindside pass protection seems to be an area of concern without Russell Okung returning to play that left tackle spot. Now, defensively, they will benefit from having the versatile playmaking Chris Harris Jr. play 2 roles as both an inside and outside corner. But again, this is a defense that loses Derwin, so their secondary is still pretty good, even though they lose Derwin. But they'll be all right. And then Kenneth Murray Jr., I think he'll contribute right away on defense as a rookie. And then you look at the Chargers, they finished in last in their division last year, not because they were a bad football team, but because they just couldn't win the close games. And finishing in last in your division comes with the perks of having a last place schedule. And in 2020, the Chargers, they've only got 5 games against teams that finished above 500. Now, my win-loss projection for these guys looks kind of funny, but I have them going on 5 different streaks in the season, 2-0 to start. After that, 0-4, and then 3 straight wins followed by 3 straight losses, 3 more wins in a row, and then a loss to the Chiefs to finish 8-8. And while I think the Chargers will beat the Raiders twice, I feel like it won't be enough for them to be ahead of the now Las Vegas Raiders in the standings, and allow me to explain why. There's something brewing with the Raiders. It's not done yet, but things are coming along. It's not going to be an ideal starting year for year one in a new city without fans in your brand new stadium, but this is 2020 and we shouldn't be shocked at anything. But the Raiders are in Vegas, and it just feels right because a Raider is a pirate on the move with no regard for enemy territory. They rob, they steal, and gamble anyways. They do what they want. So while I feel for Oakland losing out on its team for the second time, a shiny new spot in Sin City is perfect for a fan base that will follow its team basically anywhere. And there's a lot to be excited about if you're a Raider fan this year. Yes, the Antonio Brown experiment fell apart before it could even begin, but the Raiders were a 7-9 team that showed a lot of promise last year. This team went from having one of the worst offensive lines to a top 10 unit when healthy, and Josh Jacobs, he set a franchise rookie rushing record along a surprise year from tight end Darren Waller. And now Waller's going to have some help with Jason Witten coming in. So all eyes are going to be on Derek Carr, who's been a very good quarterback when healthy and given weapons. But the thing is, this team's motto, it's just win, baby. So Derek's production, it's going to have to step up as the offense improves, or else we could be looking at his last season in silver and black if John Gruden and Mike Mayock start to get impatient, or if they feel like starting from scratch with a rookie will be a cheaper way for the Raiders to open up their window for longer and compete with the Chiefs and make a playoff push. But the biggest move of their splashy secondary was helping in getting Damon Arnett to play the opposite side of Trayvon Mullen. The fact that they released Prince Amukamara before the season even started tells me they're confident with his status as a rookie first-round pick. And then I would say over at the linebacker spot, that was another splashy set of moves they made, bringing in Corey Littleton from the Rams to play inside linebacker. Him and then linebacker Nick Kwiatkowski's newly signed defensive tackle Malik Collins, they're going to be tasked with revamping the middle of a defense that already features promising young D linemen in Max Crosby, Cleveland Farrell, and Mo Hurst. And they're coached by Rod Marinelli, so shout out to Cal Lou, the defensive line coach. Rod Marinelli, Cal Lou guy. But all 4 of the Raiders' primetime games will be in Allegiant Stadium, starting with the Saints on Monday night, which will be the NFL's first game in Las Vegas. So I'm excited about that, obviously. I do feel like the roll of the Vegas dice ends up with them winning that game somehow. So 2-0 to start, a win against the Bills, sandwiched in between losses to the Patriots and Chiefs. And then out of the bye week, 3 losses to the Bucks, Browns, and Chargers, followed by a strong 6-2 finish to a season that puts them at 9-7 and in second in the AFC West. And that might just do it in a 17 playoff format, which I think they sneak in just by a hair, make it in the playoffs, and in Vegas, all it takes is a little bit of luck after that. Now, the reality is, though, that nobody in this AFC West has any business taking Kansas City's spot as top dog. Those guys, they're defending Super Bowl champions for a reason. They open up as 15 of 16 games favorites. Patrick Mahomes got paid 10 years and $503 million. All of that stuff for a good reason. They're not here to mess around. They're strong at every single offensive position, and even with Damian Williams opting out, the running back position seems to be just fine. The fact that they were able to draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU just feels like cheating, honestly. And now he enters a video game offense that beats people with speed all across the field. There's also a perfect union between quarterback, head coach, and front office on this team. All three of them are in sync with Andy Reid and Mahomes, and having them all locked up long term really sets the footprints for this team to try to become a dynasty. And they're out to prove that they can do that. But in this day and age, repeating is not easy at all, even when you bring back just about everyone as the Chiefs are. But they aren't going to have Laurent Duvernay-Tardif at their starting right guard spot. He's a solid offensive lineman for them who chose instead to help curb the spread of COVID-19 as his doctor. So good job for him. But the other spot of concern for this Chiefs team is they had the sixth worst rushing defense, allowing 128.2 yards per game. And at linebacker, their play must improve as well. So even though they did have the pass defense that was money last year, Tyrann Mathieu and crew, they will be without Brashad Breeland for the first 4 games to start the season because he had his substance abuse violation. But he'll be back though, and honestly, when he comes back, they'll probably be either 4-0 or 3-1. I've got them at 3-1, losing not to the Ravens, but actually in a surprise game to the Chargers in Week 2 in a tough division battle. I think their 3 other losses probably come at the hands of Buffalo in Week 6, and then back-to-back weeks, with the Raiders in Week 11, and then on Sunday night to the Bucs. So overall, though, 12-4 doesn't sound so bad. I don't think any of the teams in this division will win more than 10 games. And with a top 3 seed in the AFC, the quest to defend their title absolutely begins once again. And we know the Chiefs know how to win big games. Pat Mahomes, real special player. He won MVP in his first year as a starter, followed it up with the Super Bowl MVP in year 2, and who knows what's in store for year 3.